alert. Don't listen to this if you enjoy competitive baking, at least not the first 10 seconds. Nations League, Group A, Women's Championship playoff final, and Bake Off, and Wrexham. What a time to be Welsh. Unless, of course, you are Gary Caldwell, who is not Welsh, but does feel that there is a pro-Welsh conspiracy. The Exeter manager, of course, claimed that the referee was favouring us with an offside decision on Saturday, which proves that everybody's biased towards Wrexham. I assume the referee also made them not defend corners properly, leave Ryan Barnett exposed against their left wing back, and told Exeter not to cross the halfway line for the entire match. That must explain it all. Hello, everybody. I'm sarcastic Mark Griffiths, and I've got with me Bill Long, the man, the myth, the bloke in front of the packed old cop, Andy Parkinson, who is in one of the most outstanding old Wrexham shirts of
What's
all
that?
time. The all black Monera roof trusses shirt. We never won any games in it, but my God, we looked great. And Neil Williams, who has just accused me of spreading dodgy dark web stuff to Whitchurch, which seems so unlikely and for so many reasons. I mean, how would a pigeon find Whitchurch?
Yeah, I was going to go down that route, but I decided against it.
What route? And nobody knows where it is. Like, my sat nav doesn't register it, certainly. But then it has to be a satellite signal in the area, doesn't there, Neil?
Oh, of
That's
course.
true.
How are we
Doesn't like
all?
dodgy beards.
So again?
Doesn't like men with dodgy beards either. So
Oh, fair play. Well, you're halfway there. How are we all?
Good.
yeah, another busy
Thanks,
day.
guys. Yeah. All the happier for seeing Wrexham constantly win, as we did for 2 games.
Do you think that Gary Caldwell interview was a play out of the Fergie book or Mourinho book where they just say something really outlandish to try and take a bit of the pressure off the players? Because that was a bit of a mad statement, wasn't it? I don't think the referee was particularly bad on Saturday, but we definitely weren't getting favoured, were we? The odd one that for me.
I
I
think
thought Exeter were well beaten.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Um, I agree. I think that's it may well be that. I thought that immediately. Although he is quite a feisty sort of character on the side of the pitch, he could have been suspended already this point in the season for that game. He should have been got a fifth booking in that game against Lincoln that they played on TV the week before. So he does seem to be quite a sort of argumentative chap. I would say though, if he is trying to do that and distract, I feel it's more um, Barry Fry saying that St Andrews is haunted and he has to urinate on each corner flag, that sort of level, or Ian Holloway saying we can't win because Loftus Road be haunted, rather than the sort of higher level people that you named. I think he's hit that level of
I,
excuse making.
I think that's fair. I know we're bound to go over the match, but there was an absolutely blatant penalty that wasn't given to Wrexham that the referee was right in front of that was just that absolutely. But being sat right behind the goal like I am, I struggle to think of a more blatant penalty that hasn't been given that I've seen in the racecourse. Genuinely, it was bizarre.
Well, today I've been chatting for Drag Final Whistle Weekly in a couple of weeks' time about to Andy Edwards, who played for Wrexham in the early 80s, and we talked about a game we played at Rochdale in the 80s when, well, we had a big penalty shout similar to that turned down. Then they got a penalty. It went through a hole in the net and bounced back off the advertising hoardings, and the referee gave a goal kick. And then the winning goal, it was 3-2 to Rochdale, was our goalkeeper, had the ball in his hands, and the ref wasn't looking. And a Rochdale player ran up and headed it out of his hands and kicked it in, and the referee just gave a goal. So, yeah, maybe Mr. Caldwell should be grateful he didn't have that ref. or indeed Tuesday's ref. So let's get on with that, shall we? After this, we'll chat about Exeter and Lincoln games. We'll talk about the women's team playing at TNS. We'll talk about that mad, weird Superdome, Las Vegas, incredible, immersive malarkey. And also, we'll hear from late 80s winger, striker, and all-round nice bloke, Graham Cooper. This, my friends, is Final Whistle Weekly. Oh, it's been a fun week so far. The Stoke Kairos, we needed a bit of a boost against Stockport, and we've got it. Firstly against Exeter. As you said, Andy, it was a bit of a pounding, really, wasn't it?
There's not much else to say. Sort of Wrexham were just on top.
And
I
now
thought
on to
Ryan
Lincoln
Barnett,
City. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say Ryan Barnett was just brilliant.
He's great, isn't he? Yeah, yeah. But there were a few very strong performances in there, weren't there? I wouldn't count Exeter's set-piece defensive coach amongst that, though, because from corners, they were just horrific, weren't they?
Yeah.
Mark, I thought it was going to be our most difficult game out of the two, to be honest, was the Exeter game. But we totally outplayed them and played them off the park.
Mm.
And should have been more than 3 goals. I mean, they didn't look dangerous at all. So, yeah, very pleasing result. And as Bill said, there was a couple of shouts for penalties in that game, which the referee didn't give us. So, yeah, well pleased with that result on Saturday. And, you know, we're up against one of the meanest defences in the league, like same as us. And we put 3 goals past them. Oh, yeah, from set pieces. And as you say, Mark, their set piece coach may have had his feathers ruffled a bit, but yeah, fantastic performance by the Wrexham and 3 different goal scorers, 3 different headers.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they had the best defense in the division, didn't they, Bill? Before, well, we have now because we stuck 3 goals past them. But yeah, there wasn't a huge amount of resistance from them, frankly.
No, it was almost a bit of a strange game because I went in feeling nervous is the wrong word because I don't feel that nervous going into home games unless it's a big, you know, like the Boreham Wood game at the end of the National League season and stuff like that. But I did feel a bit wary because they're doing well and have a mean defense, and we've been sort of struggling to score goals, and then we go and bang 3 past them in a setup with 1 striker. So I did sort of feel like whenever you see Parky throw a curveball like that, he does, for the most part, seem to get something out of it. Like when we played Notts County away last season, it was the first time George Evans played centre back for us, and Tom O'Connor, who'd played a couple of times at centre back, also played at centre back. We ended up sort of getting something out of that game when we were kind of expected not to. So it's a bit of a misnomer, isn't it, that he's a totally rigid manager who doesn't really utilize the squad properly.
Well, maybe we should have a little look at that because yeah, before the match when the team came out, the sort of buzz in the area around the press box was, oh well, this had better work. So it looked stupid if it didn't. But I think to be fair to him, he's correctly identified that we weren't awful. We were still third going into that game, but I think we needed a bit of freshening up somehow, didn't we? I think the Stockport was disappointing. Mansfield was a good win, but we had to battle for it. The Harrogate game, and he just freshened it up nicely, didn't he? I mean, essentially, by using Lee playing a bit deeper off Palmer and trying to get those midfield players and wing backs a bit closer to Palmer. And it worked an absolute treat, especially on Saturday, wouldn't you all say?
Yeah, without any doubt. I thought Lee looked really good in that position, but generally, I think Lee is one of my favourite players. He just seems good, full stop, really. It's quite hard to criticism.
Good all round
Perhaps the
player.
only thing you could say is, if he was a foot taller, he'd be better at heading it. But even for a small guy, he gets it well.
Yeah, he absolutely got a great spring on him, wasn't he? Absolutely. But yeah, that new look midfield. I mean, well, firstly, Matty James. Oh, he's the new George Dobson. He is. James was terrific, didn't you think?
Yeah, I thought both new midfielders with Evan Rathbone in there as well, both played really well on Saturday. And to be brought straight into the team, which they hadn't been in for at all season, both of them together, and a new defender. I thought the whole team played superbly on Saturday.
Yeah,
It just sums up Parkinson, doesn't it? Having that Matty James coming in from nowhere and just, well, hey, signed him for a short-term contract and he's just been outstanding.
yeah.
It doesn't normally happen like that.
It's a hell of a signing, isn't he? Really, when you think about it. I mean, why on earth he's not being picked up somewhere? Because I mean, last 3 seasons he's played over 30 games. No, correction, started over 30 games in each of the last 3 seasons in the Championship. So clearly, you wouldn't think he'd be playing in League One, really. And yet, as I was aware, the only real interest was a couple of weeks before we got him, Leeds United. And again, Leeds United were looking to patch up their midfield and were interested and spoke to him. But yeah, other people's carelessness is our gain because he looks such a class player on the ball. The way he reads the game and his quick use of the ball, his quick decision making, he's absolutely terrific, isn't he?
He was bossing the midfield.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
quite interesting. Go on, sorry, Bill.
no.
He's not really the profile of player we'd have gone for if George Evans hadn't have been injured. But like you say, Andy, it's not really often you get almost like for like replacement, is it? Basically on a free transfer after the window's closed. I mean, had the window closed? Oh, well, yeah,
Yeah.
whenever it was. Yeah. So, I'm someone with his pedigree. I think it's crazy that whether players sort of price themselves out or whether it's more that there's an assumption from clubs in League One that he wouldn't come down and wouldn't want to take a pay cut. I'm not saying he has taken a pay cut, but it's just interesting to see, like you say, a player with such quality, Neil, falling through the cracks. It's a bit mad, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I was going to say I wasn't aware that Leeds had spoken to him as well, and you wonder what made him make the decision to come to Wrexham instead of going to Leeds, which is a bigger club than Wrexham at the moment. So that shows that the draw of the mighty Wrexham at the moment, that a lad from the Championship prepared to drop down a league and come and play for us, and obviously they can all see the potential within the club, the players, the ground, the fans, and it's just still like one big fairy tale that's been going on for 3 years now.
I know that I got a title for this episode now. Neil Williams says Leeds are bigger than Wrexham. I think we've got to use that now, haven't we? And as well as you alluded to, Neil, I mean Lewis Brunt at the back. Oh wow! I mean, he was tremendous at all assets of his play, going forwards and defensively, I thought.
Yeah, totally agree with you. And to drop O'Connor, and we brought O'Connell back in, so he mixed it up for the defence as well. The mainstay's been Griffiths since he's come back from his injury, and we've got the tightest defence in the league. Only 11 goals conceded. It says a lot about our defence coaches and about the players themselves. That with 11 goals scored in 17 games. It's a pretty good record. When 3 of them, unfortunately, were at Birmingham and then 2 at Charlton. So, it's a nice record to have. And I think at the racecourse at the moment, we're absolutely invincible, apart from the blip against Huddersfield, where we failed to score on a 0-0. But yeah, you go to the racecourse nowadays and you expect nothing more than a win and a great performance by the players.
Yeah,
whether that may be playing for the team.
Yeah, absolutely right. We are invincible at home at the moment because the Huddersfield game still wasn't a loss as well, was it? But I mean, Burton's done well as well, coming into the back, and O'Connell stepping in for Scar. It's all gone nicely, isn't it? Really.
Couldn't have gone much better, really, could it? Considering we got no. I think it'd be fair to say that Mullin doesn't seem 100% fit yet either, and we're still managing to score. Elliot Lee's been playing well, but last year we were accused of Lee in the first half of the season digging us out of a few tricky games, and then Mullin in the second half of the season getting us out of a few tricky games. And what would Wrexham look like if those two weren't putting the goals in? Well, this is it.
Yes.
Just as good, if not better than ever, really.
Yeah, exactly. I had a few stats that I put into the Wrexham Anorak after the Exeter game, which we'll get to in a moment. But 5 consecutive home clean sheets. That's the second best ever run since we joined the Football League in 1921. If we keep a clean sheet against Barnsley, we equal the club record since 1921.
Wow.
Last goal we conceded at home, 5th of October, Northampton, and we beat them 4-1. So I don't mind that much, really, to be honest with that. We've only conceded more than one goal 3 times in the last 36 league matches.
Wow.
And last time, oh yeah, here's a quiz question for you. If you get this, I'll be very impressed. I would never have got this. What's the last time that we scored first at the racecourse in any competition and didn't win? So I tell you, Grimsby playoff.
Wow.
That's the last time we scored first and didn't win at home. That is ludicrous, isn't it? Goodness me. In fact, under Parkinson, we drew against Maidenhead when they scored in the 92nd minute. That was earlier that season. That and the Grimsby games are the only games at the racecourse under Parkinson that we scored first and haven't won. Last time we scored first and lost at the racecourse was under Dean Keats Dagenham in April of the season, his last season. That's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
First goals matter.
Absolutely nuts. You wouldn't have even thought that, would you? That we've been so good at home.
God, it tells you everything, doesn't it? That. What about Exeter? Exeter was fun. Exeter, not I'll just stop Exeter. Lincoln, they were much tougher proposition, weren't they? To be frank.
Oh, definitely. So they've done their homework really well, and they obviously looked up on Barnett, and they closed him down with 2 defenders as soon as they could. So he couldn't get that ball into the boxes often. No, they were a lot more physical, aggressive team, and perhaps the referee came from Lincoln for this game.
I think he came from Planet
and the linesman.
Well, one of those first half offsides that he gave, the linesman against Palmer, we were looking at the replay on it, and it was nowhere near offside. It's absolutely it was astounding. But there was some I got very angry about Brunt's yellow card for just nothing.
Oh.
And so early in the game, I know I always say you should book him no matter what time it is, and I stand by that. But if you are going to book players for challenges like that, why were there were no more bookings in the match?
Nope.
What?
It's almost like he wanted to set his stall out early and show I'm the boss of this game, but then went on to give a load of really daft, innocuous fouls. One with Lee. Maybe in fairness, he was a bit blindsided for this one. Lee didn't touch the player, and the lad's fallen to the ground, and it was a free kick. And you just you're sort of sitting there thinking, it's all well and good letting seeing referees are human, but they've got to be doing better than that, Andy, haven't they?
Yeah, it was a poor performance, wasn't it?
It's Gary Caldwell's fault, isn't it? Gary Caldwell, he's got it fundamentally wrong, isn't he? What he said isn't going to make referees think twice about giving decisions against Exeter. It's making referees think twice about giving decisions for Wrexham. So he's not going to get the benefit from it.
Yeah, I was also.
Sorry.
I was sitting there last night thinking, if I was that referee and you had a whole ground singing "You're not fit to referee," how do you feel? Do you think I don't give a monkeys? I'm going to do what I'm going to do, or do you feel? Does it get to you? And I thought, I thought he made some poor decisions there. And as you say, Mark, the yellow card on Brunt in the first 5 minutes, which was quite similar to Rathbone in the Exeter game, he got an early yellow card as well. But then for the referee not to give any more yellow cards in the whole game, when I thought there was at least 3 Lincoln players should have gone in the book, is beyond me. And the linesman I don't even want to talk about.
I will say, I think in the second half he was a little bit better, but I think the bar was set that low in the first half that he still had a decidedly average, if not lower than average game in the second half. It just was improved. I always feel like bullying isn't going for someone like that, but it's just when someone is so bad at it, it's just like, come on. You got to get. He had to get a grip of the game, didn't he? Really, it wasn't great, Neil.
But then in the second half, he was the same linesman. Lincoln playing towards the temporary cop stand. Their player, I can't remember who he was at least 2 yards offside, and he allowed him to play on. And they could have quite easily scored from that. It was in the last-ditch tackle from Brunt, I think, that put him off.
That was a McCarla one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was going down the right channel, and Brunt stayed on his feet really well and got the block in at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Brunt did well again. I love how Brunt takes off. He reminds me a bit of Marvin Andrews, the way he takes a run at the ball when he's heading it and just soars. But he's got an incredible vertical leap, hasn't he?
Isaac, another good signing by Parky. It's got such a wealth of talent in that squad. It's unbelievable. And every game you see different talents coming out from the players that we've got on the pitch there.
Yeah. It's looking good.
One thing I would like to call out was Burton's save.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's 0-0 at the time. A hell of a good save that, wasn't it? It's that awkward
and again, that's another Parky signing coming up with something brilliant.
Exactly. Okonkwo's going to have to work to get back in the team at this rate when he's fit, because Burton looks unbelievable, doesn't he? And it's that awkward area just to the side of your ankle for a goalkeeper where, if you're not going to try and get your foot to it and you go with your hands, you've got a long way down to go, and goalies often get embarrassed by ones in that sort of area. But it has really quick reflexes, wasn't it? He's tremendous, Burton. Fair play to him.
Yeah, to have to come in at the last minute thing to come in and be our keeper when we had such a good defence. It's a big responsibility for him, and I don't know how much he played with the first team. They all play when they're training, they all together. So it's getting to know your defence as well. It's not only that. And going back to the Exeter game very quickly, I was walking back to the car after the game on Saturday, and who should be in front of me was oh gosh, it's gone straight out of my mind. Who's on the suspension? Oh, Cannon. Sorry, Cannon. Yeah. And so Cannon, that was a great game to watch. I said, will he be in the next game? He said, it won't be after that performance by the midfield. And it was totally true. He said, it'll be hard for me to get back in the team after that performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you call him Cannon?
No, I called him Andy.
Oh, got it. That would have been brilliant. It'd be brilliant. Do that from now on, Neil. Whenever you see a player, call them by their last name. I think that would be a brilliant sort of calling card for you, wouldn't it? Okonkwo. I like it. Changing the subject slightly, as you were mentioning post-game shenanigans, Neil, I must say that you and Hugh Burkhead, your sort of rebooting of Cooperman Terminal is excellent. I'm really, really enjoying it. Obviously, if I understood Welsh, I would like it a lot less, obviously, but but no, I just loved it. Slick and different elements brought into it, like interviewing people about their opinions. It's tremendous.
Yeah, it's growing each week. Last night was the most fluid, should I say, one we've done. What both set us off on Saturday after the Exeter game was, we were discussing. I said, "What's handball?" And the guy behind you said, yeah. And we thought, "Oh, sugar!" He's a Welshman sat there who speaks Welsh, and that threw us both off what we were thinking about. And but. We've got lots of good ideas, and as we talked with you last night, he's going to go into the schools and see what the effect that Wrexham's had with the Welsh-speaking schools in Wrexham and the fans, and get some insight off the kids and also the teachers in the Welsh schools in the Wrexham area.
No, it's sounding so good. It really is very enjoyable. So long may that continue. Anyway, let's move on to the women's game after this, where the game didn't go well, but I at least attempted to influence the game with an act of ocular vandalism. Well, sadly, the women's team's winning streak came to an end at TNS in a derby game, 1-0 loss. We had our moments, but unfortunately, TNS were the better side on the day. There's no point in arguing that. The fact that they didn't take their chances, though, meant that we were in the game until the very end. And I think we really missed Abby Iddenden, who I rave about every time I talk about the women's team, went off with what looked like a really nasty injury. I've been hearing that maybe it's not as bad as we thought, thank goodness, because she went off with a boot on and on crutches. But in the second half, when we came into the game more, we had a lot of opportunities to do something around the edge of the area, got off too many long range shots, and maybe we could have worked the situation better. And I think we missed her in that situation because that's her forte. She's a really good creative player. And I think that if she'd still been on the pitch, we may have nicked a result out of that game. But TNS were better. It's just, yeah, frustrating, really, because we were in such good form. Didn't really do ourselves justice, in all honesty. Guess that's football, isn't it, chaps?
It definitely is. I watched the highlights, Mark, and like you said, it was predominantly TNS with a far better team from the chances they had and whatever. But I think the curse came from you, Mark, after you telling me last time we spoke about it that you'd love to play any team now, preferably Cardiff.
Yeah.
Because we're playing so well at the moment that they can beat anybody. And I think you set the curse on the Wrexham women's team. So because they didn't take up that Manchester on Sunday against TNS. I believe the conditions weren't that brilliant there, but it's the same for both teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, an under par performance from what I saw from the highlights.
I take the blame, absolutely, Neil. I was aware of it, and but next Sunday we do get to play Cardiff, and oh boy, you wait. No, hang on, I've done that again now, haven't I? Oh boy, I'm worried about that one. There, now that's made sure we won it. And also, they always get the linesman's decisions, don't they, Cardiff? In my opinion. See, that's how you play mind games with the Adran League referees. You said about the conditions. Well, I guess it's time for one of, remember these guys? Uncle Griff's bedtime stories.
Uncle Griff's bedtime stories.
Basically, having had the last two away games, standing at pitch level, which is absolutely fine, by the way. I absolutely loved them. They were really fun. Last three, actually. Even the mud patch that was Helly. And they had to move their home game last Sunday because their pitch hadn't recovered. But despite all of that, I still enjoyed her at pitch level. But I was excited thinking, okay, now TNS has got a really big gantry. It's quite high up. So I'll get a luxury of a good view. Now, I certainly did because I've never been up it before, and it's higher than I realized. The rain's lashing in, the wind's blowing, it's wobbling, which a bit more than I think a permanent structure should do. I'm going to be honest with you. I did feel a little bit edgy. But the real drama came in the second half when I decided I'd try to sabotage TNS with a physical attack. So basically, I have glasses. I really only wear them pretty much for the football, if I'm totally honest. And the frame had cracked. And so I got a new pair. It was on the way. I wedged the lens in just to get a bit more use until the new pair arrived. And it's been working fine. But about halfway through the second half, a gust of wind comes along and boom, the lens of my glass comes flying out and drops down. And directly below me is the TNS bench. And I can't see where it landed because their bench is like directly underneath me. But I didn't think much more of it. When I went down afterwards to retrieve the lens, not that I particularly needed it, but I just thought that'll be fun. Their physio was there. And she said, I asked her, have you seen the lens from a pair of glasses down here? Oh, she said, oh, we didn't know what the hell was going on. Somebody's throwing glasses lenses at us. And I thought, oh my God, if I'd known I'd distracted them that much, I would have started lobbing, I don't know, socks, hearing aids and stuff just to wind them up. But sadly, I didn't realize in time. Next time, don't you worry. At Cardiff, I'm going to bring an array of medical items that I can throw at their bench to put them off their game. Don't you worry. Everything you can imagine. plaster casts. I'm not going to do. I'm not going to list medical items actually because my crutches. Yeah, I thought another one there. That's good. Yeah.
Can it be a bit like the Wrexham James Bond and just have some pens and stuff like that, which actually explode or something? You drop them and it just.
That'd be a better idea, I think. Exploding pens.
That's a lovely idea. Oh yeah, could take out a few of our opponents then, couldn't I? Jay Stanchfield, we meet at last. Excellent. I think that was a successful bedtime story in that case then. Good night, everybody.
Uncle Griff's Bedtime Stories.
Yeah, we lost, but don't worry. We'll be back. After this, let's talk about Las Vegas. Right. Big news from the world of technology, which is why I tried to send you a link, Neil, knowing that technology news will reach you slowest.
Yeah, dodgy link of that. I tried to open it, Mark, and no, thank you. It would not let me in for whatever reason. I think you sent me the wrong link.
Well, I think that the internet overlords of Whitchurch thought it'd be witchcraft.
Maybe so. It's a good job I live outside Whitchurch as well. So
yeah, oh, that's even worse, isn't it? Sorry about that.
Oh, it is.
Well, it's this thing, COSM, it's called, and it's a special immersive experience where you go into a cinema slash arena, I suppose you would consider it, with a domed roof. You've got all these 8K cameras around the stadium, and their pictures get knitted together, and then the people watching these games in Las Vegas and LA will be. It's supposed to feel like you're there, like you're in the crowd. The quality of the picture, I say 8K is unbelievable. You get a bit of the fans of you in front of you as well to make you feel like you're in the stand. It's a remarkable thing, and yeah, certainly when I was looking at an old Wrexham program and saw a picture of the Torquay fans in the away end, there were three of them in the bottom of the terrace and one in the actual stand. It's a bit different from we've moved on from those days, haven't we? It's amazing.
I think Eastbourne was the worst one where they only brought two.
Histon was none, wasn't it? Remember?
Okay.
And they still had the security strip in place just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case a spectre attacks.
Has this been tried and tested in already in the States on
Yes.
like Premiership games, is it? And it's been what? It's taken off well, or
I'm not aware, I could be wrong here. I'm not aware of it being used on football. It's definitely been used on MMA and
I think they've used it on
oh, Man United.
Man United game, yeah.
Man United Fulham first day of the season, you're quite right. But it's more commonly been used with NFL and MMA, it would appear.
Yeah, and it's I don't know whether it's the same thing, but there's the big venue, the Sphere, isn't there, which is like a huge, even bigger version than the one that is going to be across the US. And they had a whole MMA event within the actual Sphere arena, didn't they? With a backdrop going on behind it, which I was really skeptical of. Being a big MMA fan, I was really skeptical of the UFC doing that, but it was actually pretty cool to be fair, pretty incredible. So looks pretty special. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't imagine not being in the ground at a game of football apart from for away games, but if they had a venue in Wrexham where you could just all pile in to watch us play, I don't know, whoever away, I'd probably go and watch it, definitely.
Yeah.
$61 to go.
Well, yeah, there is that, but that's a steal, Neil. That's really good price.
It was a range, wasn't it? Of prices going over $100 as well. But I think were the cheapest 30? I can't remember. I may be wrong.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, I'm not keen on football fans getting ripped off, so please let me make that clear. But I've seen, I mean, football fans pay all sorts of prices. Entertainment fans, you go and see Beyonce fight Taylor Swift, you're going to pay a lot of money for that ticket, aren't you? So, in a way, if people are willing to pay for it, so be it, I suppose.
It makes money for the club. It's a business after all.
Now, I don't know about that. because it's done for the EFL. But then I assume if the EFL's making money out of this, they'll come back. Some of it will bounce back to us. I need to say one thing, which I think for me is absolutely the most important thing, which is that 6 games are going to be shown from the EFL between now and the end of the season in these arenas in the States. We're the first one, which I think tells you a lot about exactly how big we actually are. I think so many people in Wrexham don't realize just how big we are in the States. We are chosen first, and then we've also been chosen for one of the other 6. So firstly, we've been chosen ahead of Leeds and the Sheffield clubs and all those massive clubs in the Championship. And secondly, they're having us again when the Birmingham game is going to be similarly covered. Now, I appreciate they want to have midweek games for the time difference, but still, I think that says an enormous amount about us, that we essentially are, in broadcast terms and in appeal to a massive market like the States terms, we are the jewel on the crown of the EFL. And I'm not saying that sarcastically or lightly. We plainly are. That's something hard to take in, I think.
There's a real risk of the Birmingham Wrexham game becoming the USA derby, isn't there?
Yes, exactly.
The lower league USA derby, anyway.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from, Mark. I can imagine that Wrexham are the best supported team outside the Premiership in Canada and America.
Yeah.
I don't know what capacity these stadiums hold, these venues hold, sorry.
Well, they're like cinemas, I think, more than arenas. Am I right, Bill? Have you seen anything on that?
Yeah, I think the Sphere is an arena,
Yeah.
but that is the most sophisticated one where I'm not sure whether it would be in there. But these other ones, they look like, just purely from photos, they look more like at a push William Aston Hall size, maybe. So a couple hundred in there, 200-300. I don't even know what the William Aston Hall holds, but that's about the max what it looks like on photos anyway.
If you think the Sphere is the most advanced in that sort of communication in the world, then you clearly never went upstairs at the Hippodrome, did you? Tell you, that was a thing. Wasn't it, Parky?
Yeah, the Hippodrome.
Happy days.
Oh, blimey. Circle upstairs.
I have actually, the Hippodrome was still going when I was a youngster. So I do have memories of going to the Hippodrome. The week Jay was born, my dad took me to watch Toy Story 1. So there you go.
Oh, nice one. Oh, that's good. But it is, I mean, it's just astonishing for us to be, could you have imagined 3 years ago us talking about how there's this crazy new technology and we're the ones they want to throw onto it first? It's mind-blowing, isn't it, really? And brilliant for American fans who want to go and have that experience. This is terrific, isn't it?
Definitely. And anything that brings people closer to the club, even if, we might not be benefiting directly, money-wise, you have that one person who might be on the fence about whether they want to watch the documentary, go along with a friend to that, and then go and watch the documentary, and then become hooked and fly over and buy merch and become part of the community. It's all a good thing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Amazing. Really is. Well, speaking of the late 80s, which I think we were, no. Graham Cooper never got a chance to play in front of in the Sphere, but he did get a chance to play in a Stoke Kairos, and that can't be underestimated. So I managed to catch up with him, and well, I mean, a fine winger for Wrexham in his day, scored some spectacular goals, and as you'll hear when he talks about it, not only has close links with his family to Wrexham, which allowed him to play against Man United in Europe, but also has family in Wrexham, which means that he still follows the club and is able to speak articulately about the current team as well. So I really enjoyed chatting to Graham. He's a lovely man. And so after this, you'll hear from Graham Cooper. Graham, firstly, just thank you so much for chatting to us. It's an absolute pleasure for me. And Wrexham's a place that come to mean a lot for you, but we'll get to that in a moment. Yeah. Let's go all the way back. You signed for Huddersfield. You were a Huddersfield fan, weren't you, as well, I believe?
Yeah, well, raised in Huddersfield, so my ambition or dream was to play for town. and which is an incredible thing, you know. But everyone I've played for, I've enjoyed, you know, and it's everyone brings a different thing. I found at Huddersfield, being local, there was always a lot of pressure on, and I found I was trying to impress too much, you know, the pressure, work, friends, my family, things like that. And sometimes I just think it was kind of a little bit overawing, but when I came to Wrexham, all that kind of seemed to lift off my shoulders. So it was a little bit different, you know. And of course, we played in a different system, and I had to track back a lad called David Burke who played at Huddersfield, and we were constantly playing just tracking back all the time. So I can remember Dixie shouting to me, he says, "What are you doing? Stay up the field." You know what I mean? So
that's what anybody wants to hear, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it was for me, because I just spent sometimes, you know, because I was reasonably quick, and sometimes when you're constantly doing doggies up and down to cover, you know, it blunts the, you know, you need pace in the last third, don't you? You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, brilliant.
Didn't you have a habit of scoring on debuts? You scored on a debut for Huddersfield. Yeah. You certainly did for us.
Yeah. Exeter away. Well, Kev scored the other one. We won 2-0. Yeah. I think it was less than so many seconds, because I were hoping it were the fastest goal of the season, but I think Tony Cotty had scored for Everton about 4 seconds before. But it was just a little simple thing, really, because Joey said when they push out at the halfway line, I'm just going to lob it up at top, and you just bend your run and get in. So I got in on the keeper, and of course it all goes quiet then, so you hope you can finish, you know, which I did, which was brilliant. And yeah, what a debut, you know, it was just brilliant.
Scoring alongside Kevin Russell, who I'm commemorating on his sweatshirt now.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, what a player Kevin was, you know what I mean? He was a brilliant player. He used to make my job so easy, because he'd just peel away down there, and I'd just pick the pieces up when he went cross balls into the box, you know. But I find it, I think with the modern thing, I think with Barnett now playing for Wrexham, I don't know, in my day there seemed to be more crosses going to the box, a bit more action but I think with Barnett now, he's brought that back now, where we're getting a lot of quality balls into the box. And because it's all about scoring goals, isn't it, you know what I mean? But Kevin was incredible, and as well we had a good mixture of pace, youth, and obviously experience with Joey there. And you know, unfortunately that year we lost in the playoffs, which was gutting, but anyway.
Well, what was the story behind you actually coming here? What did Dixie do to convince you to get?
Well, actually, what happened was I had my manager at Huddersfield was Malcolm McDonald, Supermac, and I just got a 3-year contract at Huddersfield. So you know, you hopefully that's whatever. And anyway, he got sacked for various reasons. And you know, sometimes your face don't fit, so I kind of got edged out there, and it was just weird. I rung, you know, because in those days you'd signed a contract, and that were it. There were no player power or anything like that, you know. So I were kind of got this 3-year contract, but not playing in either of the teams. So Joey had played at Huddersfield, and I rung Joey for a bit of advice. And Joey said, "Oh, by the way," he says, "I think Wrexham have been in for you, but they're wanting silly money for you." So I said, "Well." They wanted me to go to Halifax, I think it was at the time, and it just didn't feel right, you know. And then I rung Joey, and Joey kind of said that they'd been in for me, and so I went in the next day, and there were. Do you remember Peter With?
Yes.
There were Owen Hand and Peter With there, and I was an armchair Villa fan growing up. I don't know why, I just like Villa, you know. And I can remember going in, and I said to him, you know, has anyone been in? And he goes, "No, there's no one been in." And I thought, well, I know they have, you know what I mean? So yeah, sometimes it was a thing, but to be fair, soon as Wrexham coming, because a lot of my family live up the road at Guernsey, and I knew straight away it was the right thing to do. And when I got here, well, the first person I saw was Dave Lovett. So, and he would come in and he would chatting to me. And so I just knew it just seemed right, you know. And then when I looked round and we started training and things, I just thought, you know something, we haven't got a bad team here. You know, and I can remember we played Lex away in one of the first pre-season games. I think we beat them 12-0 or something like that, or something. And I don't know, I just had a good feeling that, you know what I mean?
I remember that game really well. I was standing watching it. 14 it was.
Oh, was it 14? And, I can remember we scored a few anyway, you know what I mean? But
I just remember thinking, this is a proper Tonkin. Like I say, we've got some players here.
But I think it was interesting for me in those days because we played a lot of the local teams, especially in the Welsh Cup and things like that. So, and the reserves would often play then, But I can remember one reserve game here, and we'd beaten this team, and one of the young lads, this lad had gone through him, and next thing you know, Dixie come across and went through him. Typical Dixie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and I think the first training session when we got here, Roger, you remember Roger Priest?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we used to call him Norman Bates because his mother's wig on, just sometimes, but Psycho we called him. But I mean, what a lovely lad and what a player, but sometimes he'd just lose his head, you know what I mean? But I can remember the first training session, and he tried to go through Dixie again, and Dixie had elbowed him, you know what I mean? I thought, where have we come here, you know what I mean?
It was Roger Priest. I remember there was a documentary about Wolves when he was with them as a young player, and I always remember I was watching out for him, I was thinking, where is he? Couldn't see sign of him. Yeah. And then they showed a slow motion of a lad in training running with the ball, right. And then out the side of the screen you see a bloke going in, studs up into knee height, and I thought, I bet that's him.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it was.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can remember we went to Lincoln one game and we got beat 4-3, and Roger got sent off, and the police had to go on the pitch to arrest him because he won't come off, And but he was just committed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? And what I liked about it is in the conference, the only thing that were good about it, at least it was still. I think football's a bit of a passionate game, and I think sometimes, I went to watch Huddersfield in the Premier League, and I don't think there were one challenge made, a tackle made, and it's just, it gets the crowd up a bit, doesn't it? You know what I mean? So, and like I say, we had a couple of people that could kick in our team, so, you had Joey, John Bowden, that could, Steve Buxton used to leave his foot in all the time, but they weren't dirty players, they were just tough, you know what I mean? And I miss that kind of era,
And refereeing was so different then
as
well, wasn't
absolutely,
it? You needed players who can stand up for themselves to be able to play, don't you? Really?
Yeah, of course you do,
Yeah, Joey must have been quite an experience to play with and work with.
Well, he's just a legend, isn't he? I mean, I can remember we went fishing in Llandudno with Joey, and it was like being with the King of Wales. You know what I mean? It was just, everyone knew him.
Yeah.
It was just surreal, really. You know what I mean? But because I used to go drinking with Joey in the Fairfield Arms, and it just there in his old thingy jacket, one of these hunting jacket things. He just stood there with his dog in Fairfield. He was like,
loads of the money.
Yeah. Well, he was, you know what I mean. But it's like I said, he was what a legend, what a good player for a start. What a lovely character, you know what I mean. Yeah.
And he's got your back, don't you? When Joey's on the
Well, he used to kick us in training, and I said, Joey, we've got a game on Saturday. He says, get on with it, you soft kids. You know what I mean? And that's how he was.
Yeah. I used to enjoy, like you mentioned John Bowden as well, and I used to like him. I always, when I talk to people who played with him, I always say that he feels like a player that in the modern day with data might have problems, because he had that one trick, that turn, back end turn, and nobody ever seemed to see it coming. It always seemed to work, whereas nowadays they probably scout him and say, get on him, don't let him do that.
Absolutely, but I think as well, I think you've got to admire the players that actually go on a successful year after year, because I always think you get a bit of a honeymoon period when you start playing. Yeah. And then in the old days, they'd send scouts out, wouldn't they? Which now it's all on these computers and laptops, and it's all analysed, everything they do. I don't know. I just miss a bit of the old days where, football were football, and it were. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if it sounds silly that I just think to me it's just like it's like with me. I love going in the turf, and because I'm a supporter now. And it's just nice. And I used to think, because at one stage we got told, you can't go in the turf anymore. It's very unprofessional, and I used to think, well, why? You know what I mean? But anyway, I mean, me and Nige never stopped going in there. I've got 3 locals, one in Lepton in Huddersfield, the Sun Inn, and I've got the Shigden Mill in Halifax and the Turf. And then my 3 locals, you know what I mean? So, which is brilliant. As soon as I get here, I always go and have a pint straight away at Turf. And like I said, it's brilliant just to be a supporter now and just, support the club from a different angle, if that makes sense,
I'm thinking about other players who can handle themselves. I remember Jeff Hunter, I used to in midfield. I can't remember who it was.
Well, Jeff could play as well.
Yeah, absolutely. United's youth player, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I used to really enjoy him. I can't remember who it was. Maybe Neil Slathi will tell me about him splitting his foot open at Halifax and coming in and just taking his boots off without saying anything and just pouring all the blood on the floor, putting it back on and going back to the second half.
Yeah, but that's how it was, you know. You know what I mean? I can remember cutting my head and you just went off, couple of stitches and back on. You know, there were none of that in those days, were there? You know, where obviously health and safety now, you can't do all that kind of stuff. Because I can remember coming to Wrexham, because we always used to have a big bath, and then they changed it then where it went to showers. Oh no, there used to be baths, individual baths then, and then they changed it to showers, and you know, it's just how things have gone, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, you scored on your debut, and then we come back here, and you score on your home debut with a good goal against Exeter.
No, you were Lincoln.
Was it Lincoln? Oh, Exeter was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Exeter away first one. And well, the thing is, you don't forget stuff like that, do you? You know what I mean? It's just. Yeah, because well, again, I mean, I think it was Mark Wallington, the keeper for
ex-Leicester.
Yeah, because he was playing, and we were winning 2-0. I scored both, and then we ended up winning 3-1. But I got brought down for the penalty, and I went up to pick the ball, and Dixie was shouting at me, "No, let Kev take it." And I'm going, "You're joking? Hat-trick, you know, debut, you know." It's like, no. Anyway, I mean. To be fair, I'd have probably missed it anyway, but Kevin scored and we won 3-1, so it was quite a good start for me, really, you know, because I dropped down from the second division to play in the fourth, and just hoping that I could, you know, ignite a bit of whatever and be successful at Wrexham and see how it, you know, where it went, really.
And the fans took to you. I mean, obviously.
Well, I think it helps when you scored, but I suppose having long hair, I needed to score because otherwise I got some stick anyway. But I mean, just going back to Roger, we once had we used to go in the turf and it was a Christmas do we had, but it was in the middle of January because obviously you're playing over Christmas, so you can't, you know. And anyway, we went out and this night, Gary Worthington were pouring beer over people when we'd had a few sherbets, you know. Next thing you know, Roger smacked me. Anyway, I've got a shiner. Couldn't believe it, you know. Anyway, I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "Well, you." I said, "No, it wasn't me. It was Gary." You know what I mean? Anyway, next thing you know, we were in the evening leader. Wrexham players involved in pub brawl, and then I can remember we played. I think it was Kidderminster away in the. I think it was the Welsh Cup. It must have been the Welsh Cup. Yeah. Anyway. I were coming off and he were coming on, and I could hear all the crowd going, "I wonder if we're going to have a fight." But again, I mean, we went to the 30 anniversary of the Shropshire Reds at Oswestry at the Lions Quay, you know, the hotel, and Roger were there, and we were just laughing about it, you know what I mean? But I just think it seemed to be a bit more fun in those days, you know. It wasn't as serious, you know. And of course, mobile phones have come in now, so you've got to be careful what you say sometimes, haven't you? You know.
Well, exactly. There's so many stories about football from that era. I mean, that great Liverpool team, for example, that never got into the press because there wasn't evidence like you got that, wasn't there?
Well, a lot of the times people have said to me, you know, "What do you want to hear the stories that were involved when we were on a night out, or do you want to hear the stories? Oh no, when you went on a night out, you know, because usually those stories are probably. But as well, I can remember we used to go to the Burtonwood Brewery because we were sponsored by Marston's Ales, and I can remember going down there and. We'd got down there and we didn't know we were playing, so we got there and we'd had a couple of beers and Dick says, "What are you doing? We're playing." So, you know, the brewery team, you know, and they used to bring in a lot of ringers. And then anyway, but they were great games, you know what I mean? But it were funny, but I can always remember coming on the bus coming back, we had a bit of a scuffle and it was England versus Wales. And going back to the Welsh thing, you know, it's like I had to fight for Wales, you know. So there you go. But I'll always remember Dixie going, "Oh, I love this team bonding." but it does. I think it shows a different side to people. You know what I mean? And like so, you know, you just got to be a little bit careful what you say sometimes, because. But it was just old school men, you know, just bonding together. You know what I mean?
it's the stories that must have gone on that nobody would know about.
Yeah.
Like I say, because of lack of mobile phones or different
Yeah,
things like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I must admit, I remember that story in the leader. I wasn't going to ask you about it.
Yeah,
I'm delighted to hear it was almost taken identity anyway. So
Yeah.
it wasn't the
Well, it
story
was just
that
one of
made
those
it.
things that happened. But again, it's and the weird thing about it, there were a guy that had come with us, and he didn't have a job at the time. And because we had a kitty, we said to him, you know, come with us, you'll be right, you know, things. And I think it were him that actually rung the leader and reported us for fighting. And I just said, why did you do that for? You know what I mean? He goes, oh, well, I said, well, anyway, we got fined a week's wages and that were it. But, you know, you just take your punishment. But I was sat in the office and I had a shiner, so I couldn't. I said, because there were Joey, Flinney and Kevin Reeves. So I'm sat there going, well, I wasn't involved in a fight, I've got a shiner, so but I thought no matter what I say, just shut up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it.
Brilliant.
And then, I mean, that first season, like you said, we did well that season, didn't we? We were, you know, a good attacking team.
We just had a bad March, really, and and it was disappointing because I think we finished, 12 points above Orient. And to me, it's gutting when you've actually finished over a season, because but that's the nature of the beast. And like I say, I think we played Scunthorpe at home.
Yeah.
And again, it was my old manager Mick Buxton who were at Scunthorpe, and we beat them home and away. And we got Orient then, and I can remember drawing here 0-0, and we still thought we had a chance, you know. And it was just before the playoffs went to Wembley, which had, you know, everyone would want to play at Wembley, wouldn't they, or any international ground, you know. And we were kind of doing okay in that game, but I can remember the build-up. It was a 12 kick-off or something like that. And the reason apparently is that their left winger were getting married. So they put the game forward so he could get married, which is I found a bit strange, but it was a deal done between the two chairmen apparently. So I think it was Price Griffiths then, I think.
It would have been, I think.
Yeah. But again, you know, it's like the chairman now. They were characters in those days, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they always used to be on the team bus and all that. They were just kind of more of a family, you know. And you know, of course, there's only, like in a squad, if there's 30 players, there's only 11 can play, so there's always going to be that kind of rivalry, even in the squad. But the one thing that what I used to love about, once you cross that white line, it didn't matter. You know, it was all about right. We need to win. You know, I mean, I can remember in that successful year, we actually said to Dixie that we didn't want any bonuses being paid in the bottom half. We just wanted it for the top, because we just looked around and you know, because I can remember having a small bet on us at 33-1, and you know, we weren't far off achieving it. But going back to that game, it was 1-1 with not long left, and they scored late on. I think it was. I think it was a Cooper, was it?
Yes. Yeah.
I hate those Coopers.
Exactly. And it must be, I mean, especially then, because playoffs were a new thing. It must have been horrible to have all that effort come down to, you know, the last 5 minutes and it's over like that, in a way that maybe it isn't when you complete a league season. Or
I think you kind of get your head around it. I think the initial, going back to that we were 12 points above them in the league, if you looked on that, we were kind of, you know, we should have probably gone up, but it didn't work like that. So then you've got to get your head around that disappointment and then just focus obviously on the two games then. And I think all that goes out of the window. But I mean, I don't think I've ever recovered from that really, because I think it's one of the worst results I've ever been involved in, you know, mentally. And it took me and Garthy often speak about it, that I don't think you'll ever get over stuff like that, you know, because you only get one chance, don't you, in those things, and it's, you know, it's like winning FA Cup, innit? No one remembers who's lost, do they really? You know.
The thing that personally upsets me about that game is what, like you're saying about that noon kickoff, that a couple of years later, the player who was getting married that afternoon, to Alan Comfort, and he was getting married in Ireland, he wrote autobiography, and he said that basically, because it was the year of Hillsborough, that Frank Clark was their manager, and he basically used Hillsborough as an excuse to convince them we've got to play it earlier because of crowds, which, I mean, to me, that's crossing a line for, that's not something you do, is it really?
And of course, the build-up, a lot of people don't know about this. I think well, Dixie actually resigned, I think, not long after. We had to walk through London on the tube and stuff, which is not ideal preparation for a midday match. And as well, your body clock, usually you're used to playing at 3, aren't you? Where I think it's changed nowadays because there's games at 12:30, 3, 8 o'clock, whatever, But in those days, it was more or less set, usually 8 o'clock during the week or 3 o'clock on a Saturday,
And then they knew it made a difference as well to the away support. Getting a train for midday kick-off in London wasn't going to be easy.
Well, again, I mean, the one thing I've always admired about Wrexham is the away support, especially, And, they're a bit like, I think, growing up in Yorkshire and spending most of my life in Wales, they're very similar in the passionate, whatever, So, like I said, going back to the turf, I mean, if you haven't played well, so if you go in and say, oh, you're a bit poor today, you don't take it personally, but you've got to remember when they're saying, oh, you were brilliant today and whatever, and that's, and it's all about opinions, isn't it,
Exactly,
and it's, everyone looks at people in a different manner,
And I think something that I'm proud of the club is that when we went into the National League, you see so many teams go down there, I won't name names, but, if they stay there for more than a couple of years, that average crowd starts shrinking to the real hardcore. Whereas at Wrexham, fair play, even though we were stuck down there so long, you're still getting 5,000 or 6,000 for big games. You're still getting 3,000 to 4,000 as an average. We didn't shrink down like that. And
No. Well, the potential's always been there, hasn't it? I mean, even when we were playing, the crowds weren't as big then. But if we were doing well, the crowds were there. They would support you. And
that Scunthorpe game was bouncing.
Yeah, incredible.
And like you're saying about the characters in the team, that's, I guess, part of why we responded so well to that. When we were 3-1 up after about 25 minutes. It was just like you could see that you guys relishing the fact that big crowd right behind us. Let's do them.
Absolutely, and there's nothing worse than playing in front of about 500 or 600 or 2,000 or whatever. But that's. You want to play in as big a crowds as possible, I mean, I can remember going back to my debut at Huddersfield, I think Newcastle brought 18,000 supporters. It's like, what? 28,000, it's like, it was nuts, you know what I mean? But like I say, I mean, it's like, for me now, it's like I went to Halifax, again, I met Wayne from the turf, and which I love doing, and we kind of went there, and I had to sit in the Halifax stand, and just watching the Wrexham fans. I mean, I'm sure there were nearly 4,000 there. It's just like, wow, it's just nuts, isn't it? You know what I mean? Yeah, incredible.
What do you say about that? That's going totally off topic. I'm just thinking that would have been Leeds Road, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What a big impressive stadium that was. Wow.
Yeah. And the playing surface was tremendous. And it had a camber on, for the drainage. And if you were playing on the left wing, you could look across and you couldn't see the other guy's boots on the wing, you know what I mean? But I mean, it was a tremendous ground. I mean, I was gutted when they kind of left there, and that's why I'm glad to say Wrexham have stayed here, because it's ideal, we were just saying before to the other fellow that it's nice just to see people. I can remember, I've got an old video when we played on New Year's Day for Huddersfield at Blackburn away, and just all the people going to the ground and the atmosphere, and it's building up to the game, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Fantastic.
But and again, I used to enjoy again going back to the games. It's like the Tranmere games. I always should enjoy them because it's a bit of local rivalry, or more or less. I think I was sub that day at Chester, but the atmosphere in the Chester games, you know what I mean? It's proper. We want to beat you stuff, innit? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? No quarter given, is there? And as a player that you've got to do this for not only yourself but for the fans, because it's a week at work, bragging rights, isn't it? Everything,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's something I think sometimes people don't understand, that even if you're not from the area, the fans will very quickly let you know, right, this is a game you don't lose.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know that. I mean, if you do your history and you kind of realise, don't you know? And as well, I mean, I can remember, you know, like I say, I used to smile, but I can remember we were playing at Doncaster away, and they were calling me a sheep, whatever, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And I was just laughing to myself, you know. But it's part of the banter, isn't it? You know, they call me Taffy in local pub now. It's how it is, you know what I mean? But,
You got a thick Welsh accent. No, it's. I was just made me think about Leeds Road. Then I remember Wrexham playing our last game. It was the last season of Leeds Road, and you could see the other stadiums almost finished through the gap between the stands. And it was strange sort of nexus between old and new.
Absolutely.
And then I got distracted back to the game because Barry Jones, our fullback, got sent off, handled it on the line, and at that point, we got such a passion. But the next season, after we got into the playoffs, it doesn't start that well. I mean, Rooster has gone, understandably, because I mean, you could see he was class. I should just say very quickly as well, I mean, wasn't he a phenomenal striker? I mean, his pace with the ball was scary. Yeah,
it was just incredible. What made me laugh with Kevin is that, you know, and I'm not going on about appearances, but because he looked older than he was, didn't he? You know, and I can remember centre halves saying, "Oh, you all get," you know, and the next thing he'd skin him, and you're thinking, "You were just waiting a minute."
Exactly.
But he was brilliant, and not only that, he were exciting.
Yes.
Exciting to play with, you know, and you know, he's one of these players that you play to watch, and that's, you know, and we were lucky. We had a couple of players that were kind of a little bit more, I'd say, flamboyant or whatever, but you had that mixture as well, which you need. You know, like your John Bowdens, your Joey Jones, your Mike Williams, your Nigers, all that kind of stuff. You know, your Jeff Hunters as well, because Jeff were a good football player. He could dig in as well, but he could play.
Absolutely.
And then you had Neil Salafield, Darren Wright, Steve Buxton. I think they only Ollie Cairns. Do you remember Ollie Cairns? He played. Ollie played, and then I think Chris Armstrong came into the team then. And then, of course, Gareth Owen and Phil Hardy and all them were just starting to break through. But again, it's weird, you know, you see these players now, and I was talking to Chris Armstrong over the week, and we were just, when you talk about things that you don't understand it at the time, but they actually look up to you like we looked up to Joey or whatever, you know what I mean? And that's the nice thing for me. They were always that camaraderie. But I'm sure it happens now. It's just, I just think nowadays players have got to be careful. Because of media attention, haven't they? You know what I mean? So, and I think I can understand why they don't want to go and do that, because if you just say the wrong thing, you can be saying the right thing, and someone can say, "Well, you've said the wrong thing." It's like, you know,
take it out of context.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like I come in the other night, and I was dreading, you know, because I'm stood in front of the Huddersfield fans who you know, I'm an Huddersfield lad. I support Huddersfield, but I support Wrexham as well, and you know, people forget. And I was just hoping, please don't ask me who you want to win, because you know what I mean. It'd be so unfair, you know what I mean. But like I said, it's one little thing can, do you know what I mean? It's nuts, you know. But the two results I always look for are Town and Wrexham. It's as simple as that, and I support Wrexham because you know, the last few years I come and see my family. Like I said, my dad's brother, Royal Welsh Fusilier, I went to see my auntie other week, so there's kind of, you know, Garth, who lives in Wrexham, I stay with him usually when we're over. I've got a lot of supporters and friends that are Wrexham fans, so it's brilliant. Of course, I listen to yourself on the radio, which is brilliant. And like I said, when I had my chemo, I was pretty ill, and it was stuff like that got me through, you know what I mean? So that's extremely touching to hear. It's true. You know what I mean? It's you know, Wrexham's been part of my life. You know what I mean? And you can ask Nige. I mean, I call him Ant and Deck, but you know, we kind of we just love the club. You know, and we're just so pleased that it's got back to hopefully where it should be, and hopefully it's the start of further adventures going forward. You know. It'll be interesting to see if we just kind of hit a bit of a flat patch, you know what I mean? Because you know, that's yet to come, I think. But what I can't. You must feel it, you know, kind of I mean, are you from Wrexham?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So, well, you'll know more than me, but the feeling now when you come to games, it's just, it's one of them, and it's exciting, you know, do you know what I mean?
It's amazing, and I've never seen, and I don't mean just Wrexham, but in total, like a stadium full of fans that is so united with the players. You know? I mean, I keep telling people there's that famous game against Dover the first season when we're losing 5-2 and Dover are bottom of the league by a mile. I'd given up by then. It's like 25 minutes left, 5-2 down. And, you know, we've lost this, obviously. The crowd never gave up.
No.
Once, you know what I mean, they just kept backing them.
Absolutely.
The players had given them so much over the season. They knew they won't give up, and we're going to back them. We're going to back and win 6-5.
I know, incredible.
You know, that sort of thing. I don't think I've seen that. And I think it helps you to keep players because they know they'll never get the sort of level of hero worship they'll get here.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's simple, really. I just think, you know, if you give 100% at Wrexham, the supporters will back you. Yeah. And it's as simple as that. And that's, to me, it's a staple. Yeah. It's all you do. Even if you're not playing well, just give 100% and try your best. And, you know, that's it for me, you know. And I think in our day, we were kind of, you weren't allowed to, you know, you might not be playing well, but there'd be Joey shouting at you, or there'd be, you. But, you know what I mean? Because it meant so much, you know, to the you know, various whatever, you know.
Do you find that isn't the case in other clubs? I don't want you to call them out, but I'm just being, you know what I mean? A lot of people say that about Wrexham, and it fascinates me whether are we just like, are all clubs like that, or is there something extra here?
I think it's quite unique here. I think Huddersfield are very similar to Wrexham. You know, they've got that hardcore supporters. You know, because you've got to remember it's evolved a little bit now, hasn't it? Because you've got people coming and watching the team now that you probably wouldn't have seen a few years ago, whatever. But I think, you know, to me, the one thing that excites me is the support behind the team, you know, and they'll stick by you through thick and thin. Yeah. But like I say, you've got to give 100%, you know, and it's a staple, isn't it, you know. Especially nowadays, you know, the money that they can earn now, there's no excuse for not going out and giving you the best in. But I can assure you that there's not one player on earth doesn't go out and try. Everyone's trying. It just depends what's going on elsewhere. You know what I mean?
Exactly so.
Yeah.
We go back to that second season you were with us. Like so we didn't start very well, and Dixie was given an extended contract after the playoffs. Yeah. But we didn't start very well, and it certainly seems that the board wanted a different manager. And that maybe that was contributing to, like you mentioned before, the team not being told to go down to London by train and take all those big kit boxes, all those big metal things on the tube, I believe, and things like that. And,
well, honestly, it was abysmal. I hope people don't mind me saying that, but it wasn't great preparation for a game of that stature. I mean, you know, you're going off for a one-off game to get promoted. Which can be life-changing for players, supporters, anything, you know. And I just think it just wasn't, unfortunately, ideal preparation.
I think there was certainly a feeling that when it happened the next season at Dart, we were going out to Dartford to play Maidstone. The same rigmarole of looking all that through. I can't imagine how you take that down the steps of the tube station. And that essentially was when Dixie decided to finish. And there was certainly an unspoken sense, which I can say now, that the board were doing that to make him want to.
It seemed like that. I mean, I kind of wasn't aware of that, but it seemed there was something not right. You know, as far as I was concerned personally, I mean, I started my career off here well, but I fractured my knee and I had to have an operation, and I was kind of never the same after that. And it's like when I broke into the Huddersfield team, I broke my left leg, and it was just kind of, I seemed to get injuries at the wrong time. But if you're quick, you know, you're going to get kicked out. It's as simple as that.
Well, I should say that I wouldn't know. Believe me.
No. But you know what I mean? But it's weird. It's so funny. I was in the town last week, and this guy said, you won't remember me. I said, yeah, I do remember you. He goes, can you remember what I asked you to do? I said, yeah, I can. He says, I said, I don't know why I ever did it, but we were in this thing and we were in the bar, and he goes, oh, you think you're quick, you? He said, I'm quicker than you, whatever he thinks. Anyway, we ended up having Rain Street, having a sprint. Anyway, I beat him by about 30 yards, and he goes, oh, maybe I got that wrong. I said, yeah.
So that's in town, in the middle
In the middle of town centre,
Nice.
you know, I mean, it's like, can you imagine that now? People...
Well, if I was as quick as you, I'd definitely take that.
Yeah. And we were just laughing about it, but I just think it's nice, you know, it's like, because I don't think you really understand it, you know, I get it, the fact that I can remember when before I signed for town, I can remember going out and seeing all the town players out, and they were like heroes to me, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think you kind of understand that's the, but it is the case, isn't it, you know. I mean, I came to the first, I went to live in Torquay for about 13 years, and I came back, and I can remember doing one of the players' interviews, you know, in the Bamford, and this guy just asked me the same question he'd asked me, because they remember, don't they? And, you know, they were part of the programme, Rods, you know, and it's like, I mean, it's Pete, isn't there, and is it? Oh, Garrett, yeah, well, all they were involved with the club, and it's nice to see that they're still involved, like yourself, you know what I mean? You know, because I mean, me and Dave Lovett used to fall out, but it's just the way it was, wasn't it? You know what I mean? But I genuinely miss the bloke, you know, because it's weird. I went through because I didn't realise, but my mum had ordered every leader after every game.
Oh wow!
And you know, I opened these boxes because my mum unfortunately passed away, and there were these suitcases. I thought, oh, what's in here? So I were looking, and there were all evening leaders, you know, and then it was Dave Lovett and all this kind of stuff, and it was just weird, really, you know. But I think we're quite lucky, me and Nige, because we've always had that hopefully association with the fans, because we've always gone out and been seen around town, and we used to stay at with Gareth Davis at the Trevor Park. And we'd go out with Dixie during the week, we'd go to the bowling green, we'd go out with Joey. And it sounds, you know, it's when we could, because you could only go out on certain days, you know what I mean? And you could go out on a Wednesday or a Saturday after the match, and I'd go back home on Sunday, but we used to stay over 4 days and commute 2 days, you know. But like I say, every Wednesday we used to go out and have a pint with Dixie in bowling green. And then you get to know people, don't you? And it's just a nice feeling now to be a part of that. It's like I said, I went to meet Wayne, and there's about 200 Wrexham fans in this pub in Stocks Bridge, you know. It's like, wow, you know what I mean? And I'm just sat there thinking, Christ, this is how it should be. This is it's proper football, isn't it? You know what I mean? All these people have worked all week to actually go and watch the game, and it's you know what I mean?
We've always been good for the local pub industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
The old Brentford ground with a pub on each corner. That was they were kept going by.
Because going back to the Halifax game last year, which we unfortunately lost, I met Wayne. Anyway, I got in this pub, and it were about 11:30. And she goes, oh, I haven't seen you here before, love. She goes, oh, I just come over, I'm meeting a few friends. All right. I said, oh, from Wrexham. She goes, oh, do they call him Wayne? I said, yeah, Wayne, he's landlord of the turf, you know, so he's coming up. All right, she goes, oh, they're all good lads. I said, they're brilliant. I said, listen, they'll come, they'll have a few beers, you'll make more money today than you would, whatever. And I said, there won't be any hassle whatsoever, you know what I mean? Which was lovely, you know.
Going back to first on the pitch, I mean, you were a flair player, you were a quick player, you scored some great goals for us, and yet, I really loved the one that you scored of your face against Tranmere, which was, as I recall, we were losing like 3-1 with a couple of minutes left. We get one back.
Well, we were actually 2-0 up, and we were 2-0 up, and I scored first. It might have been Kev Russell scored. I'm not sure, but we were 2-0 up, and then they came back, and we were getting beat 3-2, and then there were a bit of a thing in the box, and it come back and it hit me on the nose and went back over the keeper. So, and it's lucky I had a big nose, you know. but again, you know, the emotions of being in a winning commanding position, and all of a sudden you're 3-2 down. And it's weird, really. But it was a sense of relief, really, and especially because it means especially Tranmere. and teams like that, it means a lot, doesn't it? You know, it's like Shrewsbury or you know, Chester or whatever. You know, those are the games that you've got to win. You know, just for the supporters. You know what I mean? And you know. So it was just incredible. And then another day, well, poor Jeff, God bless him. You know, did you know he's passed away? Yeah. Well, we were played away at Tranmere. I scored, and we were winning 1-0, and 3 or 4 minutes to go. No issues. Jeff passed it square across box, and I think it was that Morrissey. He nipped in and scored, and we ended up 1-1. And I just think that season, going back to the promotion, we just had a bad March where I think we lost about 3 games. Because I think the other, Rotherham were one, and I can't remember the other team that went up. I should know, and I can't. But happy days. But yeah, going back to the other season, I think there were kind of a lot of change in the squad, and I think there seemed to be stuff going on behind the scenes. I don't know kind of what, but. I kind of was struggling a little bit with injury. Still enjoyed playing, but I didn't have my best season, kind of thing. Because when I actually left Wrexham, I think I only played for a year after that because I had to finish through injury. So there's a lot of things go through your mind, and you know when you're not playing properly. You know, I ended up in Hong Kong and I was taking tablets to play, and I just thought, this is not right. This, you know. And I went to see this Chinese guy, and he said he had me, bent me everywhere, needles in, you know, that acupuncture, all that kind of stuff. He said, no, you need to go home, and it was a problem with my hip. You know what I mean? But like I say, in my days, you know, I broke my nose 3 times, lost my teeth. You know, you were constantly getting elbowed, kicked. I broke both my legs, my right ankle. You know, so you get some stick over the years, you know. But I wouldn't change anything for anyone, but. I'd like to have stayed here for another couple of years, you know. But unfortunately, it's the way it is, and times move on, you know. I'm just grateful to have played for two what I consider the greatest clubs in the world, you know. I mean, you just look on here and it says the 3rd oldest club in the. It's just, you know. And thankfully, I've been a part of that in some way, and hopefully I still am. I support the team now, you know.
You certainly are. I mean, you've always been very popular. And I was reading this, funny enough, I was reading the thing the other day, Huddersfield's fans forum, and they were talking about you. And, you know, you certainly are somebody, well, I think with your style of play, but also with that commitment and enthusiasm, you know, obviously you've been respected and loved wherever you
Well, I hope so, because that's all you can wish for, isn't it? You know what I mean? I mean, I'm just pleased now that just enjoying being along for the ride now. I just think I just think in every aspect. And like I keep explaining to people, there's always going to be collateral damage where people get upset or whatever. But like I say, I mean, I would go, I couldn't replace my season ticket. But all you do is just stand back, wait my turn. I'll get a season ticket going forward, and you know the rest is history. You just carry on. I'm just delighted now. I mean, you know, for me, because I had to self-isolate for 3-6 month periods when I had my cancer and stuff, and it gives me a buzz and a thrill, you know. I mean, I don't know if when you just come round, man, you can see there's the meshing, and you see onto the pitch, and it still makes my hair stand up, you know. It's weird how it affects you. Do you know what I mean? And like I say, it's just crazy that I've been involved with a fabulous club, you know, it's nuts really.
Well, you've contributed as
well, I hope so.
Like you've made it feel special to be
Well, I hope so. I mean, as long as, you know, it's nice to just be a part of something, isn't it, you know, and I just hope for the future of not only the club, but the town as well, you know. I mean, you know, when I come over now and I stay with Nigel and we go out, I mean, you can't get a taxi on a night, you can't get into takeaway, so the money that it's generating and bringing into the town, you know, it's fabulous, you know. So and I hope we keep that, you know. That's what we need, because every club's got its history, and that's the important thing. And if you get rid of that, you're nothing, are you really? You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you've always got to remember now we've got new heroes now, haven't we? You know. But it's a very fickle game, isn't it? And it's like someone was saying the other day about Paul Mullin or something, and I was thinking, well, hang on a minute, the lad's been injured, you know what I mean? He's just had a bit of a barren spell for a couple of weeks, you know, so what? You know, he'll come back, he's too good not to, you know what I mean?
I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, the 2 things that come to my mind when I hear people criticising him now, well, 3 things. One is he's got a lot more credit in the bank for people to talk about him like that.
Yeah.
But also, he's still getting in scoring positions.
Absolutely.
He's not invisible.
No,
His movement's really good.
Yeah.
And once they start going in, they'll start going in.
Absolutely,
And
definitely.
thirdly, quite frankly, people got short memories. Because last season, had, serious injury in the summer.
Absolutely.
It takes him a while to get right, and then once he gets right, he can't stop scoring goals.
If you miss pre-season for any reason at all, you're always on catch-up.
Yeah.
Because basically what a pre-season is just to get fit to a certain level. Yeah. And then you get fit, and then there's match fitness, which is a total different thing. Yeah. And it does take you 4 or 5 games to be fully flying. I mean, you look at the great players, it's like Michael Owen for Liverpool, Shearer. When they got injured, they just lost that little bit of something. Yeah. And it's very hard to replace, and that's what, I tell you what, it'd be last game I came, he was first on in my bet, Wrexham 2-0, Paul Moyne to score first. It's like it's like you saying, he's getting in the positions, and he will score goals. There's no doubt. He's too good for that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And do you know something? If he never scored again, he's done. Yes. Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be where we are now. You know what I mean?
He's still a god.
Absolutely. The Messiah.
Yes.
Which they all are, though, aren't they? I mean, I think we've got a fabulous team now.
Yeah. You look at the backup team playing in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. That's a hell of a team. I mean,
absolutely.
For me, it looks like a very strong League Two team, which would certainly do fine in League One. That level, isn't it?
Definitely. So, well, and that's what you've got to do. I think the recruitment of a few years ago has been fabulous.
Yeah.
When you think, you've got, Lee, Mullin, Palmer, all those players that were brought in that were from a higher level.
Yeah.
And it's, sometimes it doesn't always work, but it has with us, and you could always see in games. I can remember going to the Altrincham game away, and I always knew that we could go up another gear, and they did, and we ended up winning it 2-1. And that's the difference in all the players now. It's like Barney, what a little player he is.
Yeah, it's
you know what I mean? You've got McLean. All these, they're all good players. They're all comfortable on the ball now. Yeah. We look a proper team, don't we? We can pass it about. We look good in possession. It's exciting. We're getting crosses into the box. What more do you want as a supporter? You know what I mean? For me it is. It's exciting coming.
And they can score goals. If your team's able to score goals in numbers, you'll like it.
Absolutely. We look a very good team now. I mean, last week again, it's a big game, that Stockport away. Again, I thought we started well, and then we just kind of lost us way a bit. But then we were coming strong in the end, and maybe on reflection, I'd have been happy with a point. But you just dust yourselves down, don't you? And we'll come back. We just need to win Saturday, and we'll be back in it again. You know what I mean? I thought Birmingham were going to get away, but they've kind of just come down a little back a little bit. So
I was doing the commentary in that game, because when we played Birmingham, I mean, they looked a level above, and people have talked about our spending, but then they spent 5 times our transfer record on the centre back. They spent 15 million on a striker, and you can see that. And fair play. On that day, they look good. But Andy Morell was commentating with us, and he said, but this is a big game, and they're big game players.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, when you then have to grind down to Crawley on a Tuesday night, that level of, we've got 30,000 people in, the owner's here, we've got to go for this. That's not there, and that's when things can catch up. I still think they'll win it, but
that in a way, were like an FA Cup final in the middle of the season, wasn't it? Two of the big hitters are going head to head, and there's all the American owners one side, the Americans, and it's it was Clash of the Titans type thing, wasn't it? And hopefully we'll beat them when they come here, which I'm confident we will, Because I think the wonderful thing about the current team is that the home form is very strong, and especially with the support. I mean, it's crazy, because when it's proper buzzing, it's rocking, isn't it? I mean, it's fabulous,
And people worry about the away form. I understand that in some ways. I think there are certain types of ways that people play against us that causes problems. Yeah. But ultimately, I mean, our away form was good enough last season to get us promoted.
Absolutely.
And maybe part of the thing about the away form is that we set such crazily high standards at all.
Yeah.
It looks like more of a gap.
Yeah.
Their wave form isn't that bad.
No,
but it
no.
looks like a drop.
Well, I think
it was
well, it's not a drop off, is it? I just think for me, because the bar's been set so high now.
Yeah.
Are we expecting too much all the time? But I was more disappointed on Saturday because I think we could have played better. Again, it was nice to be a part of a good football game. You know what I mean? And although it's gutting to lose, but we're massively going in the right direction, aren't we? You know what I mean? And we're I'm confident we'll win on Saturday, and we're back on board again, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, people watching or listening to this, of course, they know the Saturday results because this goes out next Thursday.
All right.
So after a couple of years, I don't want to hear the score now.
Yeah.
but and I'm just thinking, I've got to ask you about this. You suddenly became Welsh when we got into Europe.
Yeah.
Hands up, I admit, at the time I thought, oh, that's a clever trick we've somehow pulled off. But of course it is genuine that you do have that Welsh family from around here.
Yeah.
But that was amazing because UEFA had basically changed their rules. You could have so many players who are not from the club's country.
Yeah. Well, I think we had 5 16, 17-year-olds on the subs bench, I think, that night. Because you were only allowed 4 English players. Yeah. And I kept thinking to myself, because I understood what they were doing, because we had to play Animal in midfield. Big Garth they had to play, I think, at the time. I can't remember just who played now. Sean Wright played, didn't he, for things like that. But unfortunately, it was just weird how it happened. And I said to Joe, Joey, you know my dad's Welsh, don't you? Because I've got an uncle in whatever, And then all of a sudden, then it became this, you know what I mean? I was Welsh, but I can assure you that my dad's Welsh. Like I say, my uncle Brian he used to teach officers at Sandhurst how to, Royal Welsh Fusiliers, and my dad fought in Malaya for which I'm very, very proud of my Welsh heritage. You know what I mean? So it was just an amusement factor to me, but and of course, I mean, I just jokingly I said, they said, well, how did you realise you were Welsh? I said, well, they sat me down and gave me a bowl of leek soup, and then I qualified, because I just thought, well, surely people, because at the end of the day, if you look at it, realistically, that there's no way would I have been able to play if I hadn't have had Welsh parentage, you know what I mean? So it was I just couldn't understand what the fuss was about, but you take whatever, don't you? But luckily I did play, and the only thing I was disappointed in that game, I hadn't trained for a month before the game, and it's no worse going into against a big team away at Old Trafford and having to chase around and whatever, I couldn't breathe after about half an hour, but again, it's like on that situation there, we actually thought we might be able to get in behind Steve Bruce, and you're talking about a very good Manchester United team, but we thought because he was slow, we'd actually get in behind, because I think me and Chris played up front, and Chris were lightning quick, and we actually did get in, and again, people said to me, oh, how did you miss that? And I think, well, I didn't want to score in European Cup Winners' Cup for Wrexham at Old Trafford in front of Stretford End. I missed on purpose.
Exactly.
Christ. I don't think I've often thought about that. If I had scored, it'd have been mental, wouldn't it? You know what I mean?
Wow, imagine.
Yeah. But I mean, we're lucky that year because we started off, we drew Lingby. And we drew 0-0 up, and everyone thought we were out. Yeah. And I can remember Flinney saying, "No, we'll sort these, don't worry." Yeah. And we just tightened the midfield up a bit, and we actually, Chris Armstrong scored ahead, and we won 1-0. But some of the stories out of that, I see a lot of supporters now, and we were out with all the supporters, and it were brilliant. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, and some of the stories, remember when we, and I just think it was quite nice that. You know what I mean? And that's I kind of miss those days in the fact that you were just you didn't think you were anything, whatever. You know what I mean? You were just a player playing, trying your best for a football club. But that year we had, like I say, both the Manchester games, and we actually drew Everton in the League Cup. and we got beat 4-0, 4-0 and 5-0, and when you realise when you play against better players, I think that Tony Cotty scored the ball, touched the ball 4 times, scored 4, scored 4 in the, you know what I mean? I can remember playing against John Aldridge when I were at Halifax, and he touched the ball 4 times and scored 4 goals, and it's like that's the difference, isn't it? You know what I mean?
I've always thought, whether I'm right or not, that often these games against teams from different divisions, it's not so much the balance of play. It's that the good teams are better in both penalty areas.
Absolutely,
like I say,
absolutely.
The top striker.
Well, it's just that little bit of quality, isn't it? You know what I mean?
My recollection of that Everton game here was I couldn't get my head around it because I felt we looked better than them despite losing heavily because Neville Southall, of course, just kept making save after save. He's the best keeper in the world.
Absolutely. But that's the difference, the quality. I always remember playing a reserve game at Huddersfield, and we were playing Liverpool. And there were, can you remember Paul Walsh? Well, he just come out of prison, and he played with. You remember David Fairclough, the ginger-haired super sub? Well, he were playing, and there were Sammy Lee played, and there were about 3 or 4 first teamers. You know when Liverpool had a good team, and we got beat 9-0. The only time we touched the ball was to kick off. We just couldn't get near him, and I can remember Jimmy Robson, the old Burnley player. He just came to say, right lads, have a day off tomorrow, he says, and that's the standard. If you ever want to get to the top, that's what you've got to reach, so go home and think about it, you know. And he says, and by the way, this is their second team. But you know what I mean, you realise when you're playing against better players, you realise, I can remember we played Swansea, I think, in the Welsh Cup here, and is it Hutchinson that played for them?
Oh yeah, Tommy Hutchinson, is it?
Yeah, I'm sure he played, and Leighton James, I think he played. But they were just you could just see they were a little bit, bit better than whatever, But on a one, it's like anything else on that scenario. If you play Man United 10 times out of 10, it's like, I wish I'd have still been here, but I mean, look at the Arsenal game for argument's sake. Who'd have given us a chance in that? And what a first thing now, every FA Cup year, you always see Mickey Thomas scoring, don't you? People forget, the other goal. It's just like Christ. But I mean, and again, for me, it's a pleasure to have known like Dixie now as a friend. Gareth Davis. All people like that. Arthur Griffiths, Mickey Thomas, obviously Joey. All those players. Alan Kennedy when he came, and he was like a god. You know what I mean? It's just. And it's incredible that we've actually been associated with those type of names and people, you know what I mean?
Alan Kennedy, of course, coming in.
Oh yeah, what a left foot, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember when we used to play at the Isle of Man Festival. We once went over there, and we'd been out and played. I think it was Motherwell. I think we lost to Motherwell in the final. I think 3-1. Remember Davy Cooper, who used to play for Rangers? Well, he was playing for them at the end of his career. Well, again, what a player he was. You know what I mean? Incredible. But I can remember going into a pub in Douglas, I think it was, and we went in, and it was this Liverpool bar. As soon as Alan Kennedy walked in, this bloke, it was mental. Again, it was like being with the royalty. You know what I mean? And like I said to you before, with Joey, Christ, everyone knew him in Wales. You know what I mean? He just like. Brilliant.
Well, Kennedy, because it wasn't famous for scoring goals, but he got the good ones, didn't he? He
absolutely.
Winning goal in the European Cup final against Real Madrid. And then the winning penalty in the 3 years later in Rome against Rome. He'd seen the world and he'd done a bit.
Incredible. I tell you what I did really love when I played at Wrexham, when the Welsh team played at home. I can remember sat in the stand watching the Dutch lads train, and it was just nuts, to see. There were Van Basten, Hully, Cooperman, all that lot playing. It was a pleasure just to sit there and think, wow. But I used to enjoy watching remember when the old turf had the balcony? We used to watch a lot of the games from there. If you were injured or anything, you know what I mean. And happy days, but like I say, it's been a pleasure and a privilege to play for Wrexham. And like I say now, it's lovely I'm just going to go and have a couple of pints in turf, and hopefully, I'm going to give this ticket to a good owner.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Unfortunately, I've got to go back tomorrow, so not to worry. But I'll be watching from home.
Excellent.
Or listening on the radio.
Very good, very good.
Yeah,
I do the stream now, so you can end up with me either way.
Yeah.
I've got to say quickly, I remember that Netherlands game for a slightly different reason, because we did the commentary on it up on the old wooden press box on the top.
I remember it. Yeah.
Mold road stand.
Yeah.
And afterwards, the first Wrexham game after that was like the next Saturday, and we went up there, and the Dutch TV people were next to us, and they'd left a bottle of water. And to us, in the mid-80s in Wrexham, it was like, what witchcraft is this?
Yeah.
They buy bottles of water.
I know.
We just couldn't get our heads around it. That's my main recollection of the mind that Maston.
How things have changed.
Exactly so.
No, for the better though, I think as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But brilliant.
Well, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this.
No,
it's been amazing.
Yeah.
I've never been a man to stand between a man and the turf, especially if you've got league soup on. So,
Oh Christ! Yeah.
so I should probably let you go and enjoy the rest of your day. But
No, I will. Yeah, let's hope we get 3 points on Saturday.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
Let's toast to a promotion again.
That would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Well, I think if we can get to Championship, it'll be a different world, and then I think we're going to have to go up a gear again, aren't we? You know what I mean? But hopefully everything's in position now, so let's just keep enjoying the ride.
Precisely.
And like I said, and thank you for inviting me. It's just nice to be to do anything really. You know, I just love coming to the club. You know, it's fabulous.
We'll see that. I'll get you in again.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. You gave a lot of pleasure to us watching you play.
No, thank you very much, and it means a lot to me. That.
Oh, you're a good friend to the club anyway.
I hope so, because that's all I've wanted to be. You know.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I enjoyed playing, and I enjoy supporting the club now. And I'm just lucky to have a lot of nice friends, you know. And it's brilliant. And of course, we're forever meeting new friends now.
Exactly.
Our American and Canadian friends, you know.
And the lovely thing I keep saying to them, they all agree when I chat to them, is that the TV show is about community rather than football.
Absolutely.
So you get people who want to learn more, to immerse themselves, have the sort of attitude you've got to the club being more than just a sports team, it's a cultural thing.
Well, it's the heart and soul of the community. Exactly. Every football team is.
Yeah.
You know, if the football team's doing well, it's just it's a feedback to the rest of the town.
Isn't it?
You know, and it's the business now when you come in. Like I said, just going out on a weekend now. You know, it's like the turf. You can't. You know, you got to queue for a half an hour to get in.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nuts, but what a lovely thing to see. You know what I mean?
And
it's just nuts, and long may it continue.
Absolutely. Oh, well, thank you so much.
No problem.
You're a star.
It's been a pleasure. No problem.
Oh, Graham Cooper there. Now, Andy, you were a fan of Graham Cooper's, weren't you? You enjoyed him?
Yeah, it's sort of being 18, 19 at the time, watching him at the racecourse, he was brilliant. His speed and power on the wings was just unbelievable.
And his cool long hair mullet as well.
Yeah, I was going to say he had an 80s hairstyle, big time, long flowing mullet hair.
And he brought back some memories, not just talking about how he scored, well, 2 of his first 3 games, he scored spectacular goals, but also he scored a goal with his nose against Tranmere to get us a point when the ball gets smashed into his face. I was particularly pleased to hear, surprised, should I say, because I wasn't going to raise it, that he also talks about his fight with Roger Priest in the Talbot, which is part of Wrexham folklore, but I've never heard one of the participants talking about it. It's
so
great
that actually happened then.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was quite cool. It was. I don't think it was quite as shocking an experience as you had, Andy, in the Talbot. Remember Mr. Cockle pouring his chili sauce on you by mistake?
Yes, indeed.
That's a story I've dined out on a few times, I tell you.
Yes.
We thought he was bleeding or something. There was a balcony in the middle of the Talbot, and Mr. Cockle, a guy who walked around in a lab coat, always buy food. Oh, we always buy easily perishable food from men in lab coats wandering around the streets at night, with Super Cockle on the back. And he used to sell like cockles and whelks in the pubs. And he had chili sauce. And what had happened, he was on the higher level, and his chili sauce bottle had fallen, and it was dropping on, and it was like burning your skin, wasn't it, Andy, as I remember correctly?
Yes, it was some chili sauce, I tell you that much.
I was like panicking. He's bleeding. What's wrong with you? What's wrong? And then we realized, oh, fine.
It's his arms dissolving.
Yes, exactly. What a nightmare. And I don't know. You'll never get to those high crosses again. Right. Well, we better scarper, I suppose, haven't we, chaps? It's been a pleasure chatting to you. No game on Saturday. What are you all going to be up to?
I think you can watch your local team on Saturday if you can.
You're off to Concord, are you? Was it Concord?
Oh, Allport.
That's it, Allport. I knew it was something about flying. I don't know.
I'll be too busy at work, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the goalball session. There's a Paralympic sport that they're working hard to get popular in Wales, and there's one on it's called Rosnestni on Saturday, and I'm going to have a look at that and see what it is. Might make a report for next week's Dragonars. Who knows? If I feel generous.
You're participating in here.
Possibly, because although competitively,
you did say final whistle then, didn't you?
Yeah, final whistle weekly. Yeah, that's exactly what I on. Well, I did actually. Oh well, never mind. Although you have to be visually impaired to play competitively, where anyone can take part, everyone wears masks, so who knows? I might get a game. You never know. I found my forte at last. But I'm looking forward to that. It'd be really interesting. Any other business, or shall we just clear off and get back to our families?
I think we'll clear off.
Fair dues. Right, so and on that final word from Andrew Parkinson. Good night, everybody. This is Final Whistle Weekly.